Manitoulin Island, the largest freshwater island in the world, a place of incredible natural beauty and home to one of the most exciting industries in Northern Ontario, aquaculture. Leading the way for the past 25 years is one of the most innovative and successful operations on the island, Meeker's Aquaculture.
I moved here specifically to grow fish, and I looked at the different ways that were standard for growing fish at the time, and decided cage culture was the most natural way for the fish and the most environmentally friendly way. 84 started off with one cage that was nailed together, made out of wood, 45-gallon drums from MTO, sewed all my own nets, and put 4,000 fish in the water, and that was the start. The next year I went to 3 cages, all wooden cages made out of 45-gallon drums and nets that I sewed myself, and so since then it's just grown.
And Meeker's Aquaculture certainly has grown. It now produces about 900,000 pounds of rainbow trout per year, grossing about $1.7 million. But starting a new business is never without its challenges, and Mike had many to overcome if he was to turn his passion into a reality.
And of course, aquaculture was a totally new industry everywhere, but on Manitoulin it was very new. And so he was sort of cutting edge in this field.
Nobody was growing fish in fresh water, in cages like I'm doing now at the time. It's hard to remember back then, but it was a question as to whether or not it would even work. And this is a very difficult situation to be in, because you have to deal with very cold water in the winter, very warm water in the summer, ice in the winter, ice movement in the spring. And Mother Nature is a hard taskmaster, and I've had to learn how to deal with her and all the different things that we have to do to grow fish here successfully. Because I've made all the mistakes, believe me, and had to figure out how to fix things.
Mike discovered that the realities of nature were not something that could simply be fixed, particularly spring ice flows that could easily destroy a cage system.
Dealing with the kind of spring ice movement that you see on the Great Lakes, it's staggering, the power that the ice has, and those cages are floating there. Massive as they look right now, they're nothing to a sheet of ice. I tried everything to deal with the ice, like I mentioned. I had a neighbor come in with a big 55-foot fishing tug, and we tried to break the ice, and we've had icebreakers at other operations. I tried log booms, we even thought about dynamiting the ice, but of course that was a little bit, I shouldn't say that. Take that out, okay? But anyway, we didn't do that. When I decided that the only way to save the cages was to get them out of the way of the ice, then I went to a couple of seminars, and at the time submersing was being talked about, but no one had done it successfully that I could find anywhere in the world. So I designed this system based on talking to people who had tried it before me and learned from their failures, because they were all at that time failures. This system right now is the only one in North America that's effective. It's very simple to do. The other guys are looking at figuring out ways to retrofit their cages so they're submersible. I'm looking at setting up a cage system like this in Sweden in the near future.
A passionate environmentalist, Mike has also sought ways to reduce the amount of waste produced in his operation, and has developed an innovative composting system that uses fish byproduct and sawdust from local sawmills to produce a nutrient-rich and incredibly effective fish compost, aptly named Meeker's Magic Mix.
Number one, it drove me nuts from an environmental perspective, but it's also the practical farmer that all this waste was not a waste. It was something that we should be using. And if you take the waste and you can make some money off the waste, you're saving yourself in 2 ways. First of all, the cost of getting rid of it, and second of all, if you can generate a little income from it. My wife reminds me I should think about the economic part of it more than I do. You're smiling, I know you know me. It was the challenge of taking this waste and making it into something that really got me going. That's what excites me.
The growth of Meeker's Aquaculture has come about not only through hard work and perseverance, but also as a result of the partnership he formed with the CFDC.
When I first started this, proposed to start this business, I went to the banks, the normal banks, and when I started to discuss what I wanted to do, they looked at me like I had 3 heads. This was not something that they had any understanding of whatsoever. Normal farming, they understood. Cattle farming, all my neighbors are cattle farmers, dairy farmers. They understood that. What I was proposing, they had no idea. And so they really had no interest in it whatsoever. So if Lambeck wouldn't have had the mandate that it did to help local people, community people, and in projects that were maybe a little weird, you know, unknown, then it would never have got going.
In fact, the first check ever issued by Lambeck was to Meeker's Aquaculture.
We were delighted with his proposal, and the board and the staff thoroughly enjoyed Mike because he was so knowledgeable and wonderful. And we certainly Lambeck supported him without hesitation because it was such a novel idea with such a knowledgeable person behind it. So we were delighted.
This is about government sharing risk with businesses, with entrepreneurs, with innovators. And that's what Mike is. I mean, Mike is all of those things.
FedNor jumped in afterwards, and they were extremely important in helping the industry to develop to where it is now. You know, 10 million pounds a year of growth of fish, all going to mainly Ontario markets, you know, people in Ontario that are getting Ontario fish raised in Ontario, but also to get an industry that's worth probably $52 million to this area. And probably 150, I think the number is around 150 full-time jobs.
I think Mike has tried very hard to support the local economy by buying his supplies and his equipment locally as much as possible and within the province of Ontario. He's supported the other aquaculture operators and helped to build the industry. So I think the economic benefits of this business have been far-reaching.
I am so personally happy that Lambeck all those years ago, 25 years ago, supported Mike, and of course that was a no-brainer, but they've done so well. He and Sharon have just done a superb job, and I hope they have another 25 years of great success.
With assistance from La Cloche Manitoulin Business Assistance Corporation, Mike and Sharon Meeker of Meeker's Aquaculture are the Community Futures Program Silver Anniversary Entrepreneur.